Welcome to another edition of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy, another NFL Division preview video. And actually, this is our final NFL Division preview for the upcoming season, the AFC West. And it is a division that the Kansas City Chiefs have ruled for quite some time. Will they rule it again in 2024 is going to be the question. But we will begin first with the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are a fascinating team to look at, especially now that we see that they will have their rookie quarterback, Bo Nix, as the starter in Week 1 against the Seattle Seahawks, the number 12th overall pick in the NFL draft, who had a very solid, impressive preseason. Now, you can say, and it was very impressive, but again, you're talking about vanilla defenses in the preseason. You're not game planning or scheming for the opponent. So there is still an aura of whether Bo Nix can translate this to game day throughout the NFL regular season. But you have to be impressed with the way he looked in the preseason for sure. So Bo Nix ending up under center. What will the receiving core look like? Jerry Jeudy gone. You still have Courtland Sutton. You still have Tim Patrick, who had great chemistry in the preseason with Bo Nix. In fact, from a player prop perspective, I'm already targeting Tim Patrick in Denver games early in the season. He looked like he was already establishing quite a nice rapport with Bo Nix. So that is definitely something to keep an eye on. They also have Josh Reynolds, Marvin Mims Jr. To round out this receiving core. I don't know if it's as deep as we've seen it in the past, but definitely it's looking like they still should have a pretty solid receiving core. Again, Courtland Sutton has had some injuries. Patrick has had some injuries as well. It's going to be important that they stay healthy. Marvin Mims, his second year, I think he should be better. He should have more of an impact and more usage in this offense for the holy shit, excuse me, for the Denver Broncos here. So I think Josh Reynolds will be a nice addition to veteran presence. He's been with a lot of teams, but certainly can give them a little bit of a veteran presence as well at the receiver spot. The O-line, there is some concerns there. There's no doubt. If you look at the group overall, Garrett Bowles, we like him as a left tackle, but can we get 17 games out of him? Ben Powers. I don't love the starting center, Luke Wattenberg, because Cushenberry's gone, so that could be a bit of a concern. Mike McGlinchey at right tackle, but I'm starting to worry maybe some of his better days were with San Francisco, so we'll see how he fares this season. But Garrett Bowles, he's going to have to stay healthy. If he does, that's a better offensive line. If he doesn't, that's going to be big issues potentially, even with Bo Nix having some mobility back there. Javonte Williams, again, torn ACL last year, wasn't able to get a full workload. You worry that a lot of his speed has been taken away following that torn ACL. He might be more of a possession type of running back at this stage. We'll see. They have Samaje Perine, Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime as well, the rookie out of Notre Dame. So there are some options, but like I said, it's going to be running back by committee, and they got to hope Javonte Williams regains some of that burst that he showed early in his career, but didn't really see much of it after he returned from that ACL injury last year. The defense is a big concern. Last year was awful. They couldn't stop anybody. And, of course, now Justin Simmons, gone for the Denver Broncos. Kareem Jackson gone as well. Cade Stearns and Brandon Jones are going to replace them, it looks like, on that defense. So that's definitely a concern for me. They bring in Levi Wallace, one of the cornerback spots, Jaquan McMillan as well. There's concerns there. They do get Pat Surtain II, his contract done, so that's significant. Linebacking core is solid, and I cheer for my guy Alex Singleton, former CFLer with the Calgary Stampeders, had a great CFL career. Up and down year for him last year, but still wish for him to do well. Up front, what are you going to get from them there? John Franklin Myers, Zach Allen. Your edge rushers are Baron Browning, who I think is pretty solid, and Nick Benito is someone that really got some good pressures last year, but you're going to need better and more consistency from them game in and game out. We'll see how it goes. But that pass rush actually wasn't that bad last year, so we'll see if they continue to get better. But the safeties, it'll be interesting to see if they can bounce back. I like Pat Surtain, but other than that, there are a lot of question marks here with the rest of that secondary. So, again, this could be one of those deals where good quarterback, good receivers on the other side. might be able to have their share of success against a Denver secondary that still has their share of concerning areas coming into the season. Obviously, look, the good news is they face the NFC South, one of the weaker divisions, but they still have a lot of tough AFC opponents this year as well. That being said, the fact Bo Nix looked so good in preseason, now it is preseason, and he was chosen as the starter over Zach Wilson or Jarrett Stidham, who gave them very little upside. It opens the door for Denver maybe to overachieve a little bit. And, Sean Payton, we still don't know if he's a great coach outside of having Drew Brees in New Orleans. But he'd be someone I'd be willing to give, at least for this season, the benefit of the doubt. With this win total being at 5.5, I'd lean slightly to the over, that maybe we could get 6 wins out of this Denver team because they do have a high upside, high ceiling young quarterback instead of going with one of the retread options like Zach Wilson or Jarrett Stidham. And by the way, Jarrett Stidham, clean up your fucking act as a teammate. I mean, talking about, I know I'm a number one quarterback. I know who I am. And, shut the fuck up, man. Support Bo Nix and say, I'll be here for him. I'm here to help him, help this team win in any way that I can, making it about himself. You're not a number one quarterback, Jarrett Stidham. That's why Bo Nix is starting on week 1 to begin with. So it's not a good look, not good optics to see and hear Jarrett Stidham talking like that in the preseason. But with Bo Nix at quarterback, I think offensively there's hope, especially if Patrick and Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton can stay healthy at receiver. The O-line, I think, is going to take at least some steps forward. The pass rush is certainly decent. The secondary is my concern, but and stopping the run could be a big problem too, because their nose tackle, not anything to write home about, and stopping the run was a problem for Denver last year. So that defense is a worry, but I'd still lean over 5.5. I think they've been devalued now as far as their win totals and their projections for this season, at least a little too much now. All right, Kansas City Chiefs. Look, their win total right now is currently 11.5 minus 115. You look at Kansas City. Last year, they got to 11 wins exactly. Before that, they were over 11 wins in pretty much 5 straight years. Not a team I'm rushing to bet under, but at the same time, is there value anymore on over 11.5? They pretty much have to win 12. We'll see. Remember, this is a team thinking their 3rd straight Super Bowl now, off back-to-back Super Bowls. Not every week are you going to see this team going balls to the wall. So that would concern me a little bit about betting Kansas City over the 11.5. They knew last year for Patrick Mahomes, they had to address the receiving core. Too many drops, too much problems there with Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Kadarius Toney, among others. The good news is this year they bring in Hollywood Brown, although we won't see him in week 1. Still should be a boost to this receiving core with him. Xavier Worthy, drafted out of Texas, has the potential to be an outstanding rookie receiver coming in from Texas, where he had a good college career. Has that kind of speed that will, I don't know if it's going to be quite to the level of Tyreek. It won't be to the level of Tyreek Hill, but he's still a very fast receiver, fits this offense quite well. Loved what I saw out of Isaiah Pacheco taking over as the starting running back. I think when you look at the offensive line, I think it's still very solid with Joe Thuney, Creed Humphrey at center is a great center. Trey Smith, Jawan Taylor, still a pretty solid offensive line overall. The tackle issues are a little outstanding. The interior is excellent. So it's going to be interesting. Can the left and the right tackle spot come together for this Kansas City team? It sure helps when you got a wizard like Patrick Mahomes back there, who doesn't always need the elite tackle performances to be a very effective quarterback. On defense, up front, that defense actually last year, because the offense didn't have a great regular season, the drop passes, not even close to one of the better regular season for performances from Patrick Mahomes from a statistical standpoint. That defense really had to carry the team at times, and they did that. The points per game all the way down to 17.3 points per game allowed. And the playoffs, the defense was outstanding, and they were going up against Tua Tagovailoa, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy. Very good offenses, very good quarterbacks throughout the playoff run, and they still played excellent defense. There's no doubt. Now, the defensive line is still excellent. There's no question about that. Chris Jones, outstanding, one of the better defensive tackles in the NFL, without question. and he's going to wreak havoc like he always does. George Karlaftis exploded last year in year 2 with 10.5 sacks in his sophomore year, which is great to see. They also like the prospects of Mike Dana as far as getting a pass rush for this team. So they're very good up front. Nick Bolton's a good linebacker. In fact, I think they're okay there as well. And Drew Tranquil, Leo Chanel as well. But Nick Bolton's the key. And if he stays healthy, look out. And then as far as the cornerback spot, that's where you have a few more concerns. Like L'Jarius Sneed was a big loss. Like that's a legit number 1 corner. And, Trent McDuffie's awesome. But is Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, some of these other guys, they're going to have to fill the void left by the departure of L'Jarius Sneed. Are they going to be able to fill that void for the Kansas City Chiefs is the question. And you look at the safety spot as well for Kansas City. Brian Cook, Justin Reed back. Cook missed time the final part of the year with a leg injury, so it's important to have him back. And obviously, I think having Brian Cook back will make Justin Reed better, because I think Justin Reed struggled a bit without Cook, but having both of them back should make them better at the safety spot. But there is a concern about the second cornerback spot on the other side of Trent McDuffie. Replacing L'Jarius Sneed won't be easy. Other than that, there's not many holes, obviously, in this Kansas City team. You look at what they have to face. They have that great opener to begin the season at Arrowhead against Baltimore. They do have Cincy on the schedule out of the division, Cleveland out of the division, Buffalo and Houston outside the division. But they do get the NFC South. I would lean over the win total, but at 11.5, I just don't think the value's there. And yes, I have to take Kansas City futures to win the AFC, win the Super Bowl. Will they? It's not easy to win 3 in a row, but boy, you talk about a quarterback that can do it in Patrick Mahomes, a coach that can do it in Andy Reid. The burning desire and motivation, I think, will be off the charts for this team to win again, because I don't think they're satisfied with winning 2 in a row. They know they can make history if they win it. They are looking to become a really, really special story and win their 3rd straight. And as long as Patrick Mahomes isn't injured, I wouldn't rule them out of that possibility, winning a 3rd straight Super Bowl. All right, the Las Vegas Raiders. Antonio Pierce galvanized this team down the stretch last year when he took over as head coach. There's no question. We saw the way they played. The players right away gravitated toward him, his leadership, and just so much more of a likable, affable person compared to Josh McDaniels, and you saw it right away. And when you look at this Las Vegas Raiders team this season going into it, the biggest question mark is, can these quarterbacks produce? Whether it's Gardner Minshew, who's going to get the start in week 1 against the Chargers, or Aiden O'Connell, if he gets playing time the second year out of Purdue. That's the big question mark. The offensive line for the Las Vegas Raiders. Colton Miller is pretty solid. We'll see about the rest of that group, though, because there's still big-time questions about that offensive line, which at times was not very good last year for this team. As far as the skill position talent, there's more to like there. But again, can that O-line play well? Colton Miller's good, but Jackson Powers Johnson, Andre James, Dylan Parham, and Thayer Munford, they're going to have to play well. If they do, Zamir White's decent at the running back spot. Alex Madison brought in. And obviously at receiver, they got Devontae Adams. They bring in Jacoby Myers. And, of course, they draft a guy that could be a dominant tight end here in the NFL, and Brock Bowers out of Georgia, who had an outstanding career. Potential for the offense, but if the quarterback stinks, none of that potential is going to be realized. And that's the big question. Can Minshew and O'Connell play competently at the quarterback spot? Defensively, that's where the strength is. There's no doubt. Christian Wilkins, John Jenkins, Max Crosby's a beast. Malcolm Kuntz, they are a very good defensive front, without a doubt. They can stop. They're decent against the run when you look at it. And then the defense carried them down the stretch. They have one of the top pass rushes in the NFL. Max Crosby, 14.5 sacks last year. Malcolm Kuntz is up and coming. There's no doubt. And again, as far as the interior of that defensive line, to be able to bring in a guy like Christian Wilkins is great from the Miami Dolphins. So the interior of that defensive line should be better. That defensive line overall should be really, really strong. The linebacker spot for the Las Vegas Raiders. I think when you look at it, they have some quality there as well. They have Robert Spillane, the veteran, Divine Diablo, one of the better names there as well. The secondary for the Raiders this year, Cornerback spot is still a little bit of up in the air, bit of an unknown. And I like Mooring at safety. Marcus Epps a little more suspect. What will they get as far as Jack Jones, Nate Hobbs, Jacorian Bennett as far as the rest of this cornerback spot? I think when you look at that particular group, there are some weaknesses and weak areas in that secondary. But again, if the pass rush is just teeing off and dominating up front and not letting those routes develop down the field and not letting the quarterback get time to throw the football, then the elite pass rush, which obviously on paper the Las Vegas Raiders certainly have, can certainly cover up some of those holes they might otherwise have in the secondary. As far as the schedule goes, they do have a tough schedule. They do play the NFC South, but outside of that, there's a lot of tough opponents on this schedule coming up this season for the Las Vegas Raiders. It's just difficult for me, even though I love the defense, certainly love the way they responded under Antonio Pierce. But now Antonio Pierce is the full-time head coach for a full season. And maybe some of that honeymoon time with the players and the coach wears off a little bit. And if the team starts losing and the quarterback plays not good, well, then this great ambiance is suddenly going to disappear a little bit. And we're going to find out what kind of a coach we've got here in Antonio Pierce when he's got to maybe lift this team up from the ditch if things start to go south. So 6.5 is the win total. It's too low for me to bet under, and I'm not confident enough in the team and the offense and the quarterback play especially to bet over. So I'm neutral when it comes to the Las Vegas Raiders and the win total. And we wrap up the AFC West with the Los Angeles Chargers. Look, you can say what you want about Jim Harbaugh and what he is off the field as a guy, but as a coach, he's very good. And yeah, he had some maybe issues with Michigan there with the violations and all that, but and the Spygate stuff that was going on. But I will say this with Jim Harbaugh. He's a good coach. He is. And he's certainly, not even a question, he is certainly better than the two numbnuts and the two stiffs that came before him, and Anthony Lynn and Brandon Staley. He is obviously an upgrade from both of those two clowns. So right away, it's got to be an upgrade at the coaching spot here for the LA Chargers. And we've seen a track record of Jim Harbaugh, especially in the NFL when he went to San Francisco with Colin Kaepernick all those years ago. The 49ers were pretty good right away. You know, they didn't take time to really become good. No, they got pretty good pretty quickly under Jim Harbaugh. And maybe year one, he can spark a turnaround here for the LA Chargers. I was really liking the Chargers, and I'm not saying I don't anymore. I still do. I'm locked into my over win total with them, and which I thought was one of the better win totals way back in the late spring, early summer. But there are some concerns. Justin Herbert, another injury crops up in training camp, foot injury. It looks like he'll be on pace to be ready for week one against the Raiders, but, you know, not playing in training camp much, not playing in the preseason. Will he be sharp early on? There's questions there. All I heard from Jim Harbaugh, we're going to beef up the offensive line. I'm not so sure they did enough to address it. Rashawn Slater is still there and still a good left tackle, but he's been besieged by injury. They do draft Joe Alt, so I do like that they got him at least. But again, we're talking about a rookie right tackle starter probably. And then the interior of that O-line, gosh, there's question marks. 100% there is for the LA Chargers. So they wanted to address the O-line. They wanted to improve it. I'm just not totally sure they did enough personally to address the offensive line. We'll see. Corey Linsley, he retired because of all the injuries he had. And so the center spot's a big issue. The two guards had a tough year last year. So you've really got to hope guys play better on this offensive line if you're going to see improvement from it for the LA Chargers. A lot of change at receiver as well. Now, here's the thing with everyone's ripping them for losing Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Well, those guys got injuries galore down the stretch of their Charger career. So I'm not going nuts saying, we're no more Keenan Allen, no more Mike Williams. Woe is me. No, they're good receivers when they're on the field, but can we trust them to be on the field this season with their new team? So I'm not as panicking or worried about the changes at receiver that maybe some other people are for the LA Chargers, especially when you look at there's still talent. Quentin Johnston, who's pretty solid for them. Joshua Palmer, I think, has got potential to be a pretty good receiver. Now you're asking these guys to do more and be more impactful because now you're putting them into roles where they're more 1-2 receivers instead of 3-4 receivers? Can you get some of your other guys stepping up? DJ Chark, can Lad McConkey, who you drafted out of Georgia, pretty good college receiver, can he step up, be an impact right away for this team? New look in the backfield because Austin Eckler is gone. Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, two reclamation projects, if you will, from the Baltimore Ravens brought in by the LA Chargers. So there's a lot of questions on that offensive side of the football, without a doubt. But I think Harbaugh is going to simplify things. They're going to run the football more, take pressure off Justin Herbert, and hopefully that opens things up in the passing game, an ability to run the football. As far as the defense goes, when you look at it, obviously the mainstays are back on that defensive side of the football. When you talk about Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, those guys, though, are going to have to be a little show that they can get through a full season. I like Denzel Perryman, Dan Henley at the linebacker spot, Asante Samuel Jr. Leading the cornerback spot for the LA Chargers. We'll see how that goes. I like Asante Samuel Jr., but can they find a legitimate complement to him from either Christian Fulton? Can Cam Hart, one of the rookies, step up? We'll have to wait and see. Jasir Taylor, can he improve his play? He was mediocre last year. Derwin James is coming off, a year. He had a lot of injuries, and even last year, performance was never really an issue. It was more injuries, but last year he didn't play great. So you got to hope he bounces back and has better form. There's no question. The linebacker spot, Denzel Perryman back is pretty good. He's still a quality player, no question. Junior Colson and Henley, again, like I said, we're going to have to wait and see if they continue to develop. Poona Ford, I think, when you look at it, we'll see. He could be quality as far as stopping the run, but he's got to take that game back up to another level. And the rest of the D-line, there are concerns here outside of Bosa and Mack, what they can do as far as getting pressure. So, some roster concerns without a doubt, but I've seen Jim Harbaugh work around some rosters that weren't loaded before, even in his college days with Michigan. It wouldn't surprise me to see him get the most out of what he's got on hand. Plus, the Chargers' schedule is manageable. It's the easiest schedule of any team in the AFC West. They get the NFC South. They get a lot of the weaker teams this year. There's not a ton of the heavyweights on their schedule, not a ton of the best teams in the NFL on their schedule, which should really help them, which is a big reason why the schedule being much easier than average. Big reason why I like the Chargers over 8.5 and bringing in a better head coach who's had a track record in the past with San Francisco of having a good first season with his new team. I still like over 8.5. I have more concerns than I did initially, but look, I'm locked into it as well as the Chargers. A small shot on them as a flyer at plus 350 to win the AFC West. Will they knock out Kansas City for division supremacy? Maybe, maybe not, but I thought at plus 350 it was worth a small bet. And also Chargers, AFC, and Super Bowl futures. I know it's the Chargers, and a lot of times when the going gets tough, they fold, but you do have a better coach. Justin Herbert now has, I think a better situation because they're going to run the ball more and take more of the pressure off him. Are there concerns on defense? Yeah, but we've got a coaching staff that I think can do the best they can to work with what they've got. And the schedule is as manageable as it can possibly be. So I still am going to go 8.5. We're only asking them to be a 9-8 team minimum. 9-8, this Chargers team, to go over their win total. I think they're capable of that. All right, there's your AFC West division preview video. Best bet for this division, it's going to go right back to the Chargers. I love this win total at months ago. I've got a few more, like I said, I got a few more concerns. Full stop. No lie. I definitely have a few more concerns with the Chargers now than I did then. That being said, it's not enough to get me off this win total. I still like it. I still like it quite a bit based on the nature of the schedule. I think there's definitely a schedule here that sees the Chargers capable of 9 wins or more, which is all that's needed to get over 8.5 wins. So Chargers over 8.5 minus 155. That is going to be my AFC West best bet for this AFC West season preview video. Hit the like button on the way out. Thank you for watching all the college, conference, and NFL division preview videos right here on Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy.